Hey guys, Sean Little with Vapor Trail Tactical. Next video is going to be, already talked about selecting your PDA and your ballistics program. So now I'm going to talk about setting up the different programs. They all follow about the same parameters, and I'm going to use the bullet flight because it seems to be the easiest to work off of. One of the good things about the bullet flight is it'll let you go in and make up your own profile. So what I've done is I went in and made my own profile for my M40A5, shooting 175 Match Kings and using a particular charge weight and overall length. So whenever I went in and set this up, basically it gives me all my information at the top, and then it goes in and talks about your muzzle velocity, which you're going to have to run your rifle over a chronograph to get your average muzzle velocity. Talk about chronograph information later in another video. Basically, you want to get your average velocity and be able to program it in. The range in which you're zeroing at, I use 100 yards. This is really good because it already converts it into meters for you. And then your sight height. Your sight height's kind of important. You can use a general ruler and get the basic sight height. That's from the center of your bore to the center of your optic. But a more precise way of doing it is to use calipers or use some other precise way of measuring from the center of your bore to the center of your optic. Using M40 A3 rings, pretty much standard height sight with a Schmidt bender is 2.1 inches. Next one is your click values, or your elevation and windage adjustment increments. I have 1/10 mil-rad for each one of those increments. Got your windage elevation and your windage, and then it has my bullet mass using 175 grain Match King. And then based off of the Match King information, I'm going to put in my ballistic coefficient information. You have the BC1, which is 496, BC2 487, which is for 2800 down to 2800 feet per second. And then BC3 477 to 1800 feet per second. So as your bullet loses muzzle velocity, it also loses its drag efficiency, and so therefore your BC changes. On this section over here, it has all your information that you put in when you initially zero your rifle. So I have the temperature at 59 degrees, a barometric pressure of 29.98. My altitude is 330 feet at my home range, and a relative humidity of 50%. Now this is the very first day that I went up shooting and zeroing my rifle to these particular weather settings. Once I've got that set up, I'm going to go in and for the particular day I'm going to calculate my ballistics. So every day I go to shoot, I'm basically going to put in my range, of what my target range is. I'm going to find out the temperature. Now, finding out the temperature, since I'm using the iTouch, the temperature is pretty easy because all I have to do is go in and go to my local Yahoo weather, and it will give me my weather information. All I'll do is go to Yahoo weather, and it updates my information for me. And I'll select locations, and oops. And I'll select my home area. Gives me a temperature of 63 degrees. Down at the bottom it gives me a barometric pressure 30.03 and 100% humidity. So whenever I go back to my ballistics program, I'll go in and calculate, and I'll put in my information here. So 63 degrees, barometric pressure 30.07, and 100% relative humidity. And it gives me at 800 yards temperature, pressure, angle. One of the things you need to make sure that you double check is to make sure that you don't have any of the fields filled in that don't need to be filled in. So like I had 1 degree of angle in there, Of course, I'm not shooting at 1 degree of angle, so I'm going to make sure I get that set at 0. 4 mile an hour wind from 3 o'clock. Altitude is still 330 feet. And my relative humidity gives me 7.3 mils and 0.7 windage, 0.7 mils for windage. At the bottom, you can tell that it still gives you your muzzle velocity, your energy, and your time of flight. You can't really see that very well, but time of flight down there at the bottom. So it gives you all your information. Works really well. Alright, so 7.3, let's say I'm going up to shoot at Allegheny, and I'm going to program in 3,500 foot elevation. So my elevation changes, and instead of 7.3 I get 6.9. So that's over 1 MOA worth of change, and that's just an elevation at 800 yards. And that's just by changing your altitude. Right now, being that I recently shot Allegheny, I know that the barometric pressure changed quite a bit also. So I'll program in 28.16, and it gives me my little notice, and it still stated at about 6.5. So I think it was at 6.8, well, 6.5. And you can change your relative humidity to 50 point. Change that to 50%. Still stays at 6.5. So 29.92. Oops. And changing my barometric pressure back to 20.92, went from 6.5 to 6.9. So that was an MOA change just in itself. So elevation gave me over a minute of angle change, and my barometric pressure gave me over a minute of angle change, and that was only at 800 yards. So setting it up and using it is pretty critical. Again, once you get one of these programs and start using it, you have to confirm the information on the range. So wherever your home range is, if you can confirm all the information all the way out to 1,000 yards, that's the best way to do it. Once you have it confirmed, make sure you write all the information down in a data book. These things don't record any kind of data for you, so you still need to maintain a data book and record all the information. Because if for whatever reason you forget this and you have your data book in your pack, you can always refer back to your data book. And this concludes setting up and using one of these ballistic programs. As usual, keep it point of aim, point of impact. Thanks.